This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Which to try first? I think I'll try the lion first. Oh. What happened there?
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Legendary, episode 151, Post-BlizzCon, coming up on tonight. Our ratios finally being balanced. Draenor is apparently a no-fly zone, and is mythic rating the end for 10s. All that and more, but first, joining us from WoW Insider, Zam, right here at GameBreaker.tv, stealing SoCal and getting over the con crud. It's Olivia D. Grace. What's up, Liv?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my voice is back up again, so that's good.
Well, that's good.
My cough is still up. That hasn't dropped yet. And yeah, it's good. I'm still up. It's like only 8 p.m. here.
Everybody's exactly now we're on like the same time zone. This is easy. Also hopped up on cold medicine. It's Convert the Raids Pat Crane. What is everybody? What everybody's sick?
Yeah, it's true. It happened like magically 2 days after the con. I got sick. Go figure.
So weird. It's almost a bit like there's been some big gathering of people where everyone's been in one place. And people, like, one person has a cold, and then they give that to 2 people, and then they give that to 2. It's weird.
Effing BlizzCon and your germs. Stop bringing your germs, you dirty nerds.
That's right.
Nerd flu. Yeah, fake 3000. It is nerd flu.
I say this now, knock on fake wood. I somehow, the entire Gamebreaker Nation ended up getting sick. Everybody came home, and, like, everybody was, like, knocked out for the count. I somehow, I don't know, skirted it. So I'm
you know what this means, Gary? No, you know what this means. This means you are the originator of the.
So
you are that guy.
That's it.
I carried it. It's me.
That's it. Either that, or you took like loads of zinc and echinacea and like all the hippie stuff that you're supposed to take, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck all you guys. I feel great.
Well,
nice.
you know.
Nice.
I will feel great.
Yes. There you go. Really quick. She is. We were all pros over the weekend. What a great time.
Man.
We got so much cool, on the show. Are we going to do a post-BlizzCon show? Like, are we going to, like, reminisce about BlizzCon? Or are we just going to get into There's so much shit to talk about this week. I'm just like...
We could do that. Like, I missed the post-BlizzCon show, so I feel bad about that. So I feel like, yeah, let's get into it. Let's do a post.
I guess that's kind of what our show is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I could talk about, this whole weekend forever. I mean, that was such a great time. It really was. I mean, just hanging out with you guys and meeting some of the fans and meeting some of the devs and some of the other gamers out there. And, it was really fun. It was like the best time I think I've had in a very long time. So. All
right, so let me ask. No, actually, I want to ask Olivia because she hates BlizzCon. I'm going to ask Pat. I pumped up BlizzCon pretty big as being like my favorite con. I mean, dude, now that you've experienced it, I mean, you were pretty cross-eyed Saturday night. I think you were having a good time.
No, I was not cross-eyed. I was, yes, I was cross-eyed.
Keeping an eye on 2 different corners of the room.
If anybody saw the post-BlizzCon show that we did, I apologize already because I may have had quite a few cocktails before Gary pulled me in to do a show.
You had a really uncomfortable knee throughout the entire show as well.
That's why I wasn't on the show. I went from 0 to drunk, like, at feed that evening, and I got all Gary's text.
Thursday
later.
night was like 0 to drunk. Thursday night.
But
fantastic job, by the way. Thursday night. I mean, thanks to everybody who came out to the Annabella, because that you guys made our night. I mean, that party was just awesome, and I had a great time. Cool. Liv did an amazing job throwing out stuff and doing all the giveaways and stuff, and the live stream has been great.
Gary throwing out stuff.
Hey, I was throwing out like boxes. They were like, everybody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna take an eye out. I'm like, fuck it. Here's a mouse with a.
It's like, it's okay. I found a brick. I'm gonna throw it at the crowd.
I'm like duct taping razor blades to the mouse. Hey, watch out. That's next year, kids. That's next year. It'll be a whole.
This time next year.
But man, what a great time! I mean, everybody. Jesse Cox, thanks to Jesse Cox for coming out. I mean, he is just a blast, and he said it the entire time. Day 9, man, that day 9 Jesse Cox like segment is. If you guys haven't watched it, you have to go back and watch it because it's epic. Even if you don't like StarCraft, Day talking about the Wasp. Oh my god! And I got a back rub, and I got a back rub by day 9, which
that was so hilarious, and it was funny because I'm like, do you want me to sit in on this thing here with day 9 and Jesse here? And you're like, yeah, sure, go ahead and sit in, and I'm like. As soon as it started, I realized what my job was. My job was to laugh the entire time because it was so hilarious.
No, me too. I was out of it.
So hilarious.
They just, I don't know. They just started.
Those guys just have a thing.
It was hilarious to watch that. Trade chat. Thank you, Michelle Morrow.
Yep.
Krendor. Awesome meeting Krendor and coming out. Like it was just a blast. It was so much fun. Everybody I think had a great time. Hopefully everybody went home with a little something. I shot a lot of wristbands. At least a bruise. Hopefully I went home with a shiner.
Because Gary's checking out books.
Checking out their books.
Hey, people can catch.
If only Audible, you know. If only you were chucking audiobooks, they wouldn't have hurt anyone.
Right. There you go.
Interesting. It was a ton of fun though. The whole entire con was just a blast, and everybody was having fun. And if you guys are watching this show and you're Blizzard fans, I'm telling you now, start pinching your pennies and putting a little kitty away. Go next year. Go. And it sounds like they are never gonna. It sounds like they are definitely planning on not missing again. Somebody, I don't know. Did you guys hear that? Somebody like Morhaime said something to the effect of like, I don't think we'll be missing a year anytime soon.
I hope not. Rumors. Yeah, I've heard various rumors saying like, oh yeah, it's already like the hotels are already booked and like they've already reserved. Like it's all just rumors. Like I'd love them to be true, because I had a great time. I was a little frustrated by elements of it because I'm just such an information junkie. I want to know everything now, and it's like it was frustrating for me to be like, tweeting out about some panel and be like, oh, I wonder if this, and this, and they're like, oh, they're answering this in a Q&A on DirecTV, and I'm like, damn it.
Right.
Damn it. I want to watch that when I'm at the con. But then, I had a great time. So I really hope that they do bring it like next year and the year after that. And save your pennies. And just meeting people. So many people. Awesome.
And that's the coolest thing. I always bring it up about BlizzCon. It's like PAX is awesome. There's a lot of fans, but it gets scattered because it's like a lot of fans of a lot of different games. So there's not that like common bond between people. And like you just go to BlizzCon and everyone is just so psyched to be at BlizzCon. They're yelling and screaming and everybody's having a good time. And it's like just how many times how many times did somebody literally just randomly walk up to you just like, hello, how are you? And not even know who you are, but just start talking to you and be like, hey, what's up?
Well, and randomly hug you. Or whatever. I mean, just kind of come up to you and just give you a hug, and I went, "Who the hell are you?" And then I looked at her badge, and it was the Shaw of Happiness. I mean, like what?
Yeah, I got a random hug assault from the Shaw of Happiness. My goodness, she's knee high to a grasshopper. She's a tiny little thing, such a tiny little ball of happiness and Shaw. Awesome. But there's so many people, and like I feel so bad because there was like some people who were like, "Oh, Olivia," when I was rushing to a panel, and can we grab a photo with you? And I was like, I'm literally like, I'm jogging through the convention hall with a laptop and a Yeti microphone on my back because I'm late. It's like, I'm really sorry, try and catch me later. But like, it was so much fun. I felt really bad. But if you're watching this, sorry. But it was just awesome just to meet anyone at all who's like, I watch your stuff. It's like, thank you so much for watching. Like, legendary. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the people, like not only all the GBN people who came to BlizzCon, of course, thank you guys. It was awesome meeting you guys. And I felt a little sad. We all had to break up and not hang out anymore. And also thanks to all the mods, the GBN mods for the live stream, XV Shadow, Magic Man, Jatai, Lactarded, Pocket Says, 7-Bit Brian, and Phantom Blue. Like all you guys, thank you so much for modding it. So a lot of people in the chat room, so that was kind of special and craziness. So we always need those. But yeah, I think Last year it felt a little bit empty not having the BlizzCon, so I hope it keeps coming year after year after year. It's always a fun time.
Yeah, and I think Nathera posted something on Twitter today where she was talking about next year. You know, it's just like a hypothetical next year, and somebody goes, BlizzCon 2014 confirmed. All right, so we're on for next year.
There you go. All right, just tons to talk about. Let's talk about some of the stuff that came out of there. Really quick. Gamebreaker Nation, EU, Warcraft, event planners and officers, we need you. If you want to be a guild officer or an event planner and you are in the EU, send an email to submit@gamebreaker.tv and let us know. We're still looking for some people to get the EU stuff going. And check the Gamebreaker Nation calendar. We have our first GBN Flex Raid event coming up on November 19th. There's a bunch of details. The only thing I have in front of me right now, I know that there's a 496 item level requirement to get in, but other than that, you should go check it. Sign up, apply for the Gamebreaker Nation. You don't have to exclusively be in the Gamebreaker Nation. You do not have to leave your guild currently, so get on over and join us as well because we're having lots of fun. So November 19th is the first Flex Raid event. Mark your calendars. All right, so let's get into it. So it's the week after BlizzCon, obviously, and we're not going to be able to cover everything in this one show because there's quite a bit of shit that came out at this conference. So expect us to be talking about these things over the next few weeks. Yeah. I think we'll hit a bunch of this stuff this week. What we can, the really hot stuff. The real hot topic on the forums this week is the racials. Apparently, there was a dev interview which talked about alliance racials being made passive, and people are getting quite worked up about this until EU community manager Tech Rallis jumped and made a post actually today about this just to calm all you people down. Yeah. I've hung out and partied with you. You're a crazy lot. So there aren't plans for any broad sweeping changes to racial abilities in 6.0. We'll probably tune some numbers so racials feel less mandatory in certain cases. Also, due to the changes we announced at BlizzCon, there are several hit and expertise-based racials that will need to be replaced with something new. Hopefully, we can use those new racials to help shore up racial balance overall. So, I don't know, Liv, I'll start with you. What's your take on this? What does this read like to you?
It's a funny one. Like it's kind of people. This interview that came out, which people have been talking about, was so weird. It was so weirdly presented. And like it seemed like someone was sort of had a conversation with this guy and was just trying to like report on it from memory. So I think a lot of what maybe the developers said may have got like turned around a little bit. From what Takrellis is saying, I kind of feel like it's going to be like she's specifically mentioning numbers. So I don't think we're going to be seeing changes to stuff like every man for himself. I think we're going to be seeing changes, if anything at all. And like there's no this is speculation, okay? So there's no confirmation here that anything's going to change. Like things like beast slaying. I'm trying to remember the names of horde racials, and I don't normally say horde. Beast slaying and the all control racials. So like blood fury and berserking. I think chat room will correct me if I got those wrong. So I could think maybe some like slight numbers changes on those. But the thing is, hit is gone, expertise is gone. So that Drene racial 1% passive hit, not going to be that useful anymore. Yeah. And like the expertise bonuses, like Pat, you'll know these better than me, but like dwarves with maces. Dwarves with maces, and I think there's I can't remember them all. I mean there are a bunch of like
orcs with axes, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, there's expertise bonuses. So I think those, and I have a sneaking suspicion that when this person reported it as being this is the whole this is the passive thing, he meant the alliance passives, such as the 1% hit change, like these expertise changes. So maybe that's it.
This kind of falls in line with all the stuff that they're getting rid of, right? I mean, there's the Reforge, they're getting rid of. So everybody's freaking out about the Reforge mount. So everybody's freaking out about all these things that they're getting rid of, but they're not necessarily going that next step and saying, well, Blizzard may have actually thought of this, and they will address it as we get along further into beta and into the next expansion. So I think that people just need to kind of take a step back. Don't get too itchy quite yet as far as where you need to be, because we have a while until this thing comes out. So
Come on,
Yeah,
Pat,
for
it's the
sure.
internet. We gotta get itchy. We gotta get crazy.
Hey,
That's
why
what
else
we
do you
do.
speculate?
Like,
Come on.
if
Call
we
me
say
that
stuff, we go nuts.
I see that table.
Flip
Let's
it.
flip it.
That's right. That's right.
Well, what do you guys think that there's a need for racials to be balanced?
I think, like, I mean, again, Pat, like, for PvP, the human racial is definitely strong. Like, there is no denying that the human racial is very strong for PvP.
Right.
I don't think it's as crazy strong as people make. Like, people aren't like, oh, it's the end of the world if the human racial doesn't get balanced out. I don't think it's as crazy good as people like to make it, like to make out it's definitely good. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yes.
most Alliance PvPers will be human unless there is no option. Like, for example, you can't be human shaman. So,
Right. And
people,
most
you know,
and most PvEers are probably going to want to play Orc Control because of Blood
Exactly.
Fury and Berserker, because those are actually really good racials, especially for DPS. So why not use those if you can?
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them get reworked a little bit more so that you can kind of spread the love between all the different races, and maybe you can even it out somehow. But the way it stands right now, it's a little uneven here. And
Why
there.
is Blizzard even hanging on to them? Like, why not make them out of combat, like Rift or Guild Wars 2 or something like that? Why are they hanging on to these for so long?
They started it, damn it! They're gonna run it into the ground.
I started, so I'll finish. I know, it is kind of like, it's an interesting question. Like, all of these people get so worked up about racials. But, like, so I see someone in chat room, a nighttime app mentioning cannibalize. Like, that's an awesome example of a racial it's got flavor, because undead, you know, zombie, what do? You eat people. And, like, it has no real impact on PvE. It has no impact on PvP apart from really winding people up. Like, if you've just killed someone in a battleground and you're undead, eat them. It's gonna drive them freaking insane.
I love that.
But it's like, that's a perfect example of a racial. It has no impact on combat. It has flavor, it has feeling to it, and like, maybe those are better, like, a better route to go for racials. And like Guild Wars 2, where the racials were like out of combat things, maybe that's a better answer. But yeah, Pat's right. They're just like, no, we've made this choice. So
We are going to play this out until the end. Damn it.
I've built this castle and I'm not letting you knock it down. Is that really? Do you think it's it? I mean,
I think that's it right now. I think they're probably
Yeah.
going to take a look at this, especially as they go through beta, and really kind of figure it out. But for right now, yeah, it's theirs. They want it. They own it.
For sure.
And they want to keep it going for a while.
And also,
Alright.
like, you know, it's also the like, I was joking about flavor and cannibalize. Someone in chat room got me. We're on the same wavelength, chat room, you and me. But it does add class flavor, like the sort of everyman for himself, like trolls and berserking. There's sort of like lore feel and links there, and it removes the sort of what's Shafnet's favorite word, the homogenization. Like,
what did you call it?
A step away from that.
The homogenization?
Yeah, exactly. That's like Shafnet's
The
favorite
homogeneity.
word. We try to make it say homogenization as much as possible.
Do we drink? Is that a new drinking game? Is that a Shafnet
Yeah,
drinking
it should
game?
be.
Let's do it.
It should be. I'll drink my tea.
There you go. Tea, homogeneity. All right. Another really big topic on the forums. This is an interesting one. Is about flying on the new continent. So it's going to be limited to max level players. That would be like, you know, no surprise. We're kind of used to that if it was just limited to that. But what they're doing instead is they're actually saying that nobody can fly on the new continent until patch 6.1. So no matter how fast you guys all get to max level, there will be no flying for you until the first full patch of the expansion. Now, here's what's even crazier. Bashiok jumps on. He's a fantastic mustache, by the way.
He does.
I wish I could grow that.
It has a mind of its own.
It really does.
It really does.
What, did you like wake up to it or something? Like, did it crawl up next to you in the middle of the night?
It may have. No,
it has a mind of its own. I just had this picture of you lying in bed in your hotel room with just a giant mustache like crawling along your bed, just like stop motion animation, just kind of like creeping along.
It's just on the pillow next to me, just like laying there. What?
Could some animation person make that a thing? Make Bashiok's mustache
really,
some sort of legendary thing?
Could we have like a little Bashiok's mustache walking across the bottom of the screen on Legend?
Oh yeah, animate that. I'll put it in the show for sure because that'll become
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Like a lower third. Bashiok's mustache.
Did we just go off the rails? I think we just went off the rails.
Yeah,
I'm back!
It'll happen. It'll happen.
It will happen.
A little bit.
All right, so Bashiok jumps on and he says this. He says, so he talked about how to get flying once the patches actually drop. So the patch 6.1 comes, you still don't automatically have flying. Now, I'm not going to read the entire full post here because it's kind of long. So he ends it like this. Check this out. He says, unlocking it won't just be level 100 on the day 6.1 comes out with some gold, but something you'll be working toward over the course of the initial expansion release. And 6.1 will introduce the final steps to complete it. Think of something like a mini legendary cloak quest. It's such an enormous power to be able to fly. We really want it to be more of a key moment when you unlock it, and something that feels like an accomplishment more than just shelling out some gold like we have in the past. So wow. I can't. I'm afraid. What are people thinking of this? What is the community? Because there's nothing. Nobody's used to this.
Right. The Zerg Raiders are really loving this change. They are really loving this because this means that they will have to crawl around Azeroth, looking for the portals to all the raid content, not being able to gank mobs or anything like. No, they're kind of pissed. All the really hardcore raiders are kind of pissed off about this, and they really don't like it. But at the same time, I kind of get it. I mean, it's got to be something more than just for the end game. They have to look out for something more than just the end game, and this is the way that they're going to do it. And I think it makes sense. And having an achievement that goes along with it, or a longer quest chain, that's kind of cool. That's kind of a neat way to do it. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how they roll it out.
Pat Crane, I was with you, man. I was right there with you. I was like, yeah, I agree with Pat. He's got so many. And then you said quest chain. I was like, boom, no.
No, just a little one. Just a little one.
Okay, I will do 4 quests and no more.
Well, that's the big question here, right? I mean, so not only you got to get to max level, then you got to wait for 6.1, and then there's going to be some sort of kind of quest chain that you're actually going to have to do.
Yeah. They said it was going to be something you're going to be working on anyway. So if that's the case, then that's totally fine. It's understandable.
Yeah, but you're going to be working on anyway. In what context? You're going to be working on it anyway in the same way that, doing Golden Lotus rep is no big deal because you were doing Golden Lotus rep anyway to get the other factions?
How did I know that would come up? How did I know that Golden Lotus rep would come up? Somehow.
It was the only faction I could remember the name of. Okay.
And it was the worst daily ever. That's
for sure. The reason. Yeah, I can't comment because I never did them. But no, it's and I think Bashiok, maybe he sort of got a little bit overexcited by saying that it's like a mini legendary quest. I'm really hoping that he just kind of got a little bit into the moment there and maybe overstated that a bit because even a very, very miniaturized version of the legendary quest is still a heck of a lot of work when what we're used to doing is walking up to a vendor and going, here's quite a lot of gold. And, thanks for the flying. I mean, sure, for those of us who are a bit impoverished and don't play the auction house very well because haven't done their dailies and don't have enchanting recipes, and it's nice to not have to spend a whole ton of gold on flying. But I don't know how happy people would be if it was a big quest chain it's just going to be a bit of a tiresome one. So I really, really hope he's just kind of gone a little bit further than he really meant to here. That this is an overstatement. You know what I mean?
Or maybe it's something that you're going to be collecting from doing some dungeons with friends or PvP or whatever it is. So maybe it's something that you're already going to be doing, and it's just like a collection thing that you get at the end of a dungeon run.
But that doesn't sound but I don't know. I'm not going with that. I'm thinking the legendary thing is quite accurate. I don't know. No, because seriously, they say that they want to make it really special. So if you were just collecting some sort of currency or coin throughout the whole expansion, how different is that than just shelling out some gold? What's the difference? That kind of means you're kind of making it into this situation of 6.1 is going to drop and I'm going to have 90% of my shit. I'm just going to hand it in and get it. I don't think that's what he's talking about. Bashiok seems like a pretty level-headed dude. I'm sure you both talked to him, but he's not oh my God, I lost my mind. I lose my mind and say stupid shit. He does not seem like the guy that loses his mind and says all outlandish stuff.
For sure.
I'm really thinking that this is going to be some sort of task that's going to be somewhat difficult. And then I got to wonder, how are players going to backlash at this and kind of I don't know. What do you do with alts? What do you do with alts? Do you think
I would hope it's going to be account wide for whatever they do, especially if they make it into like a bigger thing. Make it kind of more like the cloak, where if you get it, you can still go across and kill Ordos, even if you don't have the actual cloak on your alt. You can still do that. So my guess would be that they would be. I would hope that they learn their lesson with the Timeless Isle stuff and just kind of go, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is account, so that's fine.
Yeah, I really hope so. Like, I mean, I guess it's kind of like the sort of questing thing. Like, I don't mind doing, like, okay, I don't mind doing the questing thing once. And like, I wouldn't mind doing a longer quest for flying once. I wouldn't want to do it again and again and again on multiple outs. I mean, even to give you an idea, like even doing the quest, the White Tiger Temple quest, so you can actually access the Proving Grounds. Like, I don't know, I think that's been hotfixed now, but before you would go in there, and if you hadn't done the quest to open the doors into the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, you had to go back before you could get into Proving Grounds and go do the 3 quests. I'm just like, oh, why can't this be account wide? So yeah, so it's like, I really hope that if that's what they end up doing with this sort of higher end quest, that it is account wide. That would drive me insane to just do that.
What do you guys?
Again and again.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Like, why? I don't know. Any speculation on like why they would limit flying? I mean, everybody's kind of pretty much used to flying everywhere. Do you think that there's something to do with the expansion and where they're going with it in a larger context that really is something that we haven't really experienced before?
The post talked about, it wasn't necessarily about seeing the world or trying to enhance world PvP. They know that they can't really, force that on you too much. But at the same point, the one thing that was brought up was about combat, about in-world combat. And so they wanted to make sure that this felt maybe a little bit more dangerous, because if you have a flying mount, you can just kind of kill whatever and then fly over the stuff you don't want to kill. Well, maybe there's something that's in the way. Maybe they've got it built in a certain way that they want you to kind of proceed through this world a little bit more carefully. So that would be kind of cool as well. I'm okay
Bring
with it.
it back, the danger.
Yeah.
I also feel like I feel like flying, it's such a mixture. Like, I think the first time you go through, it's kind of cool in a way to be forced onto the ground. Like, for example, exploring the bits of Pandaria when I went through there on my first, getting my first 90. Exploring bits, like going up Mount Everest. Like, if I just flown to the top, that would have been nowhere near as much of a sort of like, oh, wow, experience as actually, going up all the tiny little paths and being like, oh my god, we're actually going to fall off this. Is kind of, like, maybe that's just I have a massive problem with heights, but, it was kind of cool. It was kind of, it keeps you in the world. It's better for, I feel like it's better for immersion. And also there are things that they can do as well to make it, like, I don't think they did a particularly good job of this with Mists, where, like, the zones were still quite big. Like, it still took you time, like, quite some time. Although the quests were very much in pockets, it took you quite some time to actually traverse, like, Dreadwaste, for example, was getting killed by everything every 10 freaking seconds, and that was so annoying. But, like, if they make the zones a bit smaller and pack quests in a bit tighter, then maybe we won't feel the absence of flying quite so much. I mean, like Ray Kobo, who's, like, I was really lucky to get to interview him, he was saying, like, it's going to be like Australia, like, everything's going to kill you, but killing everything's going to get you something cool as well. So, maybe there's actually just going to be less requirement for long distance travel as well. Maybe they've been designing this with the absence of flying in mind.
I've always been a fan of when they restrict this stuff. Like, I mean, flying changes so much of the dynamic of, like, especially with just seeing people on the ground and, like, the whole social aspect and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it might be, but for some reason I do feel like there's going to be some, like, larger element to this. I feel like there's more of a reason that they're doing this. And I don't really know.
There's definitely going to be some story side of it, for sure.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, some sort of story side, some way the game is actually played. That's going to be something we maybe really haven't experienced before. Hey, I want to do something really fun before we move on with the live stream today.
Sure.
Because I want everybody in the chat room right now live, go jump into Tally's stream and say thanks for being on the Game Breaker at the Game Breaker party. We're getting bombarded by a spam bot, and I was, like, thinking about Tally, and I was like, man, Tally was awesome. That was a great interview. He was so nervous, by the way. He's so cute. He was like, I was so scared, man.
He's like,
I was so scared. He was awesome.
He's a nice guy.
That was one of my favorite
How do I
interviews.
get into it?
Everybody in chat, go to Tally's room and say thanks, and then just come back over here. You can open up another window or something like that. Be fun. Just go bomb them. We don't do that enough. All right, so the next big thing here to come out of BlizzCon, something I feel like Pat is just going to, I don't know, probably kick back with an uncomfortable knee and a couple cocktails and speak words. So This was big. The recap, if you guys didn't watch the recap from Legendary from BlizzCon, go watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. But the new raiding size system. So they're revamping the raid sizes. So if you didn't know that what's going on, here's really quickly the long and short of it. So LFR is becoming flexible, 10 to 25. Flex remains flex and is going to be called normal. Normal is going to become flexible, and it's going to be 10 to 25 again, and it's going to be called heroic. Confused? You got this? You following?
Yeah.
And I should have had a chart for this. And heroic is actually going to be called mythic, named after the late great Dark Age of Camelot that Mark Jacobs created. That's where they that's going to be 20 man only. So that's going to be 20 man only. So Pat, first up, I mean, before we move on to mythic, which is clearly huge, what is going on with the other sizes, and why have they made LFR flex?
The reason why they made LFR flex is because LFR queue times suck. Number one. I mean, that's really the big thing, right? Because everybody's been bitching about queue times for LFR. Well, if we can make this thing flexible, you've solved a lot of problems that happen with flex, because people drop in and out all the time, and it's really impossible to keep track of them. And if you don't have 25 people, you feel like you're shorting yourself a lot of the times, because maybe you're missing a tank, which is horrible. And if this thing goes flex, it's still going to be horrible if you're missing a tank, by the way. Yeah. But I think they've made some changes with the armor as well that where it makes it a little bit easier for people to jump in and out of roles. So I think we're going to start seeing some people do that as well. But LFR going flex just makes perfect sense because of the way that it's been handled all throughout Mists of Pandaria. I think it will be a good thing overall for queue times.
I think it's definitely going to be a good thing. I think like it's definitely like there's no way in which this is making anything worse. This is definitely an improvement. But I just I was looking at this and kind of thinking, well, okay, so if you're missing DPS, scaling down the boss's health is going to, and the damage is going to be great. It's going to actually really help, like if you're missing DPS. But when are you missing DPS in LFR and it's not like DPS?
Right.
And like, so, okay, so let's move along to the next scenario where it's going to be helpful. Like, okay, you're missing healers and also DPS. Like, it's rare that, in my experience at least, it's rare that you're just missing like 3 healers. And in that instance, it'll maybe help because it's still going to bring the boss health and things down a bit. So you might have the extra DPS you need to kill it. So it's going to be still helpful, but like when you've got a couple of missing healers and like a bunch of missing DPS, fantastic. As long as it sort of works out proportionally. You're missing tanks. There's nobody going to save you from that. There's no flexible raiding that's going to save you from no tanks.
But the other change along with that, and we're talking about the armor change here, and if you guys don't know what the armor change is, it's basically plate is plate, leather is leather, mail is mail, cloth is cloth. So you will be able to change whatever spec you go into, your gear will be able to change with you. And it's that change, I think, especially for LFR, means quite a great deal. Yeah. So that means that somebody will do it where they're going to go, you know what? My off spec is actually pretty good, and I'm pretty good at it, and these guys are failing, and so I'm just going to do this so that we can clear. And then they're going to switch over, and they're going to be like, "Oh, great, we made it! Yay!" So
I hope that happens. What I think's realistically going to happen is that you're going to get people who are like, "Well, I'm technically a DPS, but I'm damned if I'm." There's
that too. So it's going to be a little bit scary, but and then the other thing that they mentioned along with LFR was that they wanted to make it into more of a, and I'm going to quote Greg Street here.
Oh, bring it up, big
tourism mode. Tourism mode. So for tourism mode for LFR, that's what Greg Street said that they wanted to change it into. And if that is the case, LFR is going to be a breeze to go through, right? Because they're just out there to see the content. Maybe get some Chivos and maybe a little bit of gear upgrade for them, which is fine. And that's about it. But and then if you want more, you can go into normal and heroic.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I still feel like this is going to do nothing for the tanks. Like, people are still, even if it's easy, like tanking is putting such a spotlight on yourself, such a spotlight on your abilities, and like it leaves you open to so much crap from other people. And like, particularly if you don't, like, if you're being that cool person who's like, all right, I'm a DK, got me a blood offset and a blood off spec, I will put this on even though I don't want to for you, and you'll still get a ton of flack for not knowing the fights. And it's just like, dudes. You know, I think
again,
it's a great. I think it's an improvement.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going to do much for the queues.
Well, and again, it depends on how they tune it. So if they tune it as tourism mode, they may come up with a way to tell you more about what it is, what's happening, so that you can prepare for it. So maybe they'll come in. Maybe they'll come in with some in-game warnings for you. So it'll say "taunt now," you know, and then you're fine.
That would be awesome. If they did that, that would actually fix things. I also kind of think one thing with the LFR going flexible, and I have no idea if this is possible. Like, what if they made it so you could do LFR, like you could be like, right, guildies, like obviously in the Convert to Raid guild or Game Breaker Nation, this isn't going to be a thing, so you've got like hundreds of people at your disposal. Right. But like in my guild, we could be like, oh, there's 14 of us on. Do you want to do flex, or should we take like the people who've literally just dinged 100 and let's go hit up LFR, just these 14 of us? Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it sounded like they were going to try to queue to a certain number, and I'm not sure what that number is. So they're going to try to queue to a hard number. So it sounds like for new groups, and then from there it will become flexible. So we'll see exactly how that turns out.
What do you guys think of? What do you guys think about the whole renaming thing? Flex to normal, normal to heroic. I mean, I get. And
how can you not love this, Gary? How can you not love this?
Are they changing difficulty with this stuff as well, or is it kind of just a name change? And obviously,
well,
flex
I mean,
change.
it's definitely a name change, that's for sure. And who doesn't want to be a heroic raider or a mythic raider? I mean, mythic, that sounds so awesome. Or even, you know, for those guys that have only been doing flex, get out of the flex mode and start doing normals. That sounds pretty good.
But they're still flex. They're just called something different.
Yes. Yes.
I really hope they change the difficulty.
Hey Gary, just make sure to do this some more, because this is kind of what it's about. It's all about
feel good.
So,
it's all about the feel good slot machine.
Feeling good. That's right. That's right.
What do you think they're still gonna have the? You think they're gonna have the wing system for flex?
No, it's called normal now, Gary. It's called normal.
Oh, sorry, it's called normal. Sorry, I'm getting them mixed up.
No, they actually said that they're getting rid of the queue system for LFR. Or sorry, for flex. They'll still have it for LFR. That's the only place where you're going to actually have the queue system. Is
so the
for
wings
LFR.
we're talking about now. We're not talking about the queue where you can actually join a queue to get into
but that was all part of it, right? So the wings part was all part of the flex system. And so it will be normal raid now. So you just walk into the portal and go about your business and do as you please.
So they're getting rid of the wings. They've confirmed that.
They're going to get, well, I mean, from everything it sounds like, they are going to get rid of wings. They aren't going to gate anything. They're just going to let you have at it as a normal raid.
Speaking of wings, I'm kind of
disappointed about getting rid of the wings.
Did you see when Jesse and I chugged that Red Bull? Oh my lord!
I did that too, Gary, and I was up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I was up until.
I was up till like 3 in the morning. I was laying in bed.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You fools!
I got sucked into it.
My heart will like explode out of my ribcage if I drink a whole Red Bull.
Because they were our sponsors. I love our sponsors, Red Bull, and thank you so much, Red Bull.
They're so useful. But there's like, wow, it just kills me if I drink.
I kind of just wanted a Red Bull. Like, we didn't even have to do that for the show. I just sort of said, like, hey, Red Bull are our sponsors. Like, hey, can we go drink a Red Bull? And Jesse was like, I'll drink a Red Bull. And then it was like, all of a sudden, somehow it became, should we do a chugging Red Bull contest? And it was like, why are we doing? I'm not sure why.
The only one who didn't do it was day 9.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I got to get up really early and work in the morning. He's like, I can't stay up all day.
Yeah.
He's the only smart one in the group.
I definitely had wings that night, that's for sure. Kept me up all night. All right, I want to go back to Mythic. Let's talk about Mythic. This is huge. This is a huge change for 25s for sure. But it's even bigger, I guess, say for 10-mans. So why do you guys think Blizzard is doing this?
The biggest reason I think was mechanics. They wanted to make sure that they could have. Ian Hazzikostas was talking about some mechanics not being able to be structured for both 25 and 10-man. So some of the mechanics, you know, if they're looking at going one way or the other, it couldn't be scaled, or it just wouldn't work for whatever reason. Now they're able to have a singular construct of the raid, of this mythic raiding, and say, we're going to do it this way, and we're going to tune it only once. We don't have to worry about tuning it again. We can just go in there, and you're off. So
yeah, I think they also were saying things like it's gonna make it easier for them to be like, oh, well, in this raid you have to have a mage to spell steal this buff, or you will
Right.
wait. Like this is the way you have to do this. You have to have a paladin to bop someone during this phase. You have to have a warlock for demonic gateway, which is currently like every raid, but anyway, you have to have a warlock for demonic gateway, or you have to have X class to do X role. And I think like in 10-man, because we've got 11 classes right now, you can't really do that right now in 10-man. So they're saying that this is the reason, like, and it's going to make them able to make encounters more interesting as a result. They're going to be able to use mechanics like exactly like these class specific ones, which they haven't been able to use since they split the raiding 10 and 25. So I think, like, that along with what Pat's saying, there's a bunch of reasons why they're doing it.
Yeah, and really that class thing made a lot of sense, because that was one of the things that Ian brought up as well, is that they wanted to make sure that that your particular team had one of each class in it, which I thought was kind of cool. I mean, that's pretty neat. They want to have everybody grouped together to defeat this big bad of the next expansion. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also going to make it easier to recruit, right? What's Lore been doing? Lore's been all over the forums on this? What's he doing?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, obviously the thing is here that 25-man guild, as you were saying, Gary, it's like it's a huge change for them, because they are going to have to drop some players. But like talking to a bunch of 25 players, and I'm not one myself, so I can't pretend to be an expert on this. But like talking to Trekkie, who can pretend to be an expert on this, he's like, well, Method are gonna drop. Like, we're gonna lose people through the expansion. Like, it's just gonna happen that we're gonna lose some of our raiders across the expansion. So he's like, it's cool, doesn't matter. Like, they were apparently raiding, like, getting world first Siege of Orgrimmar with a bench of 2. So a bench of 2 people in that raid. So they were literally like, they had 27 people. So if they lose like 2 people across the expansion, they'll have a 20-man team and a comfortable bench. And obviously you've got like the whole flex thing scaling up to 25. So that allows you to get your bench people some actual raiding action, get them geared up, get them ready for Mythic. However, if you're in a 10-man guild, this is freaking huge. This is like, you're not just going to have 20 people, you're going to have a bench. You're going to have to say you've got 12 people right now. You're going to have to double your roster to get this going, to get this working. So this is a huge deal. So what Lore's been all over the forums with is saying ways in which, like, this isn't going to be so bad. And Pat, I know that you run a freaking huge guild. Like, what's your take on what he's been saying?
Well, I mean, the things that he's been saying are things like, guess what? You're not gonna, as you build your team, you're not gonna be screwed out of raiding, which is kind of the good thing, and neither is your bench. Your bench will be able to raid with you no matter what. So people have been like, oh my, there he is. So over the course of time, you're going to be able to build up your team. You're going to be able to raid together, and you're going to be able to have fun because we're in this flexible environment. So you can raid up to your 25 people, which is the best part of this whole thing. Everybody will still be able to raid into heroics anyway, and then once you get into Mythic, then you'll have to make some hard decisions. But I think that is probably the best recruiting tool of all of them, is this flexible mode stuff. Yeah,
for sure. And I think you've got to remember, like, other stuff Lore's been saying on the forums, like, for example, like, gear's not going to be such a big deal at the start of a new expansion as it is now, because everyone's going to be in their crappy questing blues and maybe their Garrosh axe. But, gear's not going to be such a big deal. So obviously you're still going to have to recruit the players, but it's just, it's not going to be such a huge problem. Like, if you were trying to recruit, like, double your raid roster now, you'd need geared people as well as everything else you've got to deal with. And, like, connected realms are coming.
Yes,
and that's all useful stuff. If your realm isn't being connected, then that's not quite so useful. And it's
all cross realm, which is nice as well.
Not Mythic.
No, not Mythic.
Sorry,
Mythic is not. But as a recruiting tool, we can go all the way up through heroics, cross realm, which is really actually pretty excellent, because then that way you can try out. That's awesome. I love that. I could just watch that for like an hour. I could watch that for an hour. No, but you can recruit people, and you can recruit them into real environments instead of LFR Flex, whatever. So you can actually recruit them, try them out, and figure out whether or not you want them on your team, and then have them transfer.
Yeah, for sure.
Transfer over before Mythic.
Why do you guys think why didn't they go for 15? Why didn't they go for 15 for a size for Mythic?
It comes back to that class size thing. They wanted to make sure that there was one of every class in your composition. So I think that's kind of the real reason, but I could be off. Liv, what do you think?
15 is still more than 11, right? So you can still make that. I don't know. Like, I think part of the reason, like, yeah, for 15, it is obviously fewer people, so there is an element there of it's going to be harder to get everyone in there. But on the other hand, like, you're kind of messing with. This is going to sound awful. Everyone who's in a 10-man guild, I'm in a 10-man guild, okay, guys. So I'm like freaking out about this too, and we're the people who are going to be affected as well, because we're just casual, occasional heroic raiders. Like, we might, like, this tier, we are currently 11 or 14. So we'll finish this with time to do heroic. And we won't be able to next year because we're not going to be able to find another 10 people. But so I'm with you 10-man guilds. But if they did it for 15, then they're screwing everyone over. They're screwing the 25s and the 10s. And at least with 20, they're only screwing over the 10s. So there's fewer people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more to do with like what Pat says. I just thought that occurred to me. That it's like not upsetting literally every single hardcore raider.
It's upsetting Paragon a little bit. They're having to go to 20-man, and they are going to 20-man.
Well, how are they going to do that? Have they said that?
They've said that they're going to go 20-man.
They're finding like 12 other Finnish-speaking, high-end pro-style raiders.
They said that is the goal. That is the goal for the next expansion. Whether or not they can do it, fingers crossed, buddies.
For sure.
We're looking out for you.
And the people saying, Olivia, you could run heroic with 10s in chat. That's not heroic, guys. It's normal. They just called it heroic.
It's the big feel good. Feel good. There you
Feels
go.
so good. Feels so good.
Feels so
All right,
good.
I want to talk about some player versus player, the P versus P. But first, if you guys have not checked out Shutterstock, if you have a website, which most of you do, if you have a guild site, a YouTube page, you have to go over to Shutterstock.com. I want to save you guys 25% off on your account. All you got to do is make sure you use the promo code GameBreaker1113. You will immediately save 25% off on your account. I found something to show off today. I'm going to show you guys really quickly. I'm going to run through this. We use it all the freaking time on GameBreaker. And one of the ways we do a show called XIV Reborn. It's a Final Fantasy XIV show. I'm sure you guys are World of Warcraft players and you really don't care about that show. But that's not important because I'm going to show you how we made our title plate. So if you check it out here, like you can see a couple different elements. You got this top left here, you see some Final Fantasy artwork, and then you got our text treatment, and you got this, really cool looking sort of light, sun coming up or something over some planet or something. And when I was trying to come up with some ideas for like what it would look like, I wasn't really sure, and I just started searching around Shutterstock like I normally do and just looking for stuff. And I started liking lights. So I made a light box called Lights. Funny enough, Lightbox Lights. And I just started putting some stuff together. And here, so first you could see, like, here was one element. I saw this one. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I kind of like how that's done. And I can't make that. That's for sure. I like that, the lens flare and all that. And then we threw the Final Fantasy thing in the top corner. And then we did the text treatment. And I was like, but it needs like something a little more to kind of tie it together. You can see some of these sparkles in front of the V and stuff. And that's where, like, I grabbed the second element, and this one over here, and really faintly just kind of laid it over the top of the whole thing, dialed it back a little bit. And things like that. There's all kinds of stuff like this on Shutterstock. It would take you forever to sit here and make all these lights and all. I mean, this is just some of the stuff I picked out. And that's it. You don't have to use this stuff just in its current form, just the way it looks. The cool thing is you can manipulate this stuff and use it for logos and websites and backgrounds and overlay it on top of something else and use a composite mode in Photoshop. And for some of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, you're like, what the F is he talking about? Composite modes. I don't know what that means.
I'm one of those people. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So yeah, really quickly, but it's not a Photoshop thing, but in Photoshop, you stack images on layers and then you do things and it kind of like, changes the opacity and lays things on top. So we were able to take like, 2 Shutterstock elements and 1 Final Fantasy element and some text treatment. And then that's how we came up with our XIV Reborn plate, which
looks cool.
Check that out. Looks amazing.
Cool. So that is just another example of how we use Shutterstock at GameBreaker. Like I said, there's a price point for everyone. You can download just a couple of files, a couple of images. You can do a monthly plan like we do if you do a lot of work. But I want to save you guys 25% off. So just make sure you can go sign up right now. You don't need a credit card. You don't need to buy anything today. You can just start searching around, looking for cool stuff, saving it to light boxes. And then when you're ready to make your purchase, just make sure to use promo code GameBreaker1113 and you will immediately save 25% off. I don't know why I just started talking like Christopher Walken, but it seems like a good idea.
That's the worst Christopher Walken ever.
It was really bad. It really was.
Really?
It was really
We're
bad.
talking like Christopher Walken? Wow.
Sorry.
Nobody
Shut
knew.
up. Shut up.
You could have not even said a thing and no one would have been any the wiser.
Probably true. Probably true. All right. It's time to move on. So much to talk about. Guess what it's time for?
There we go.
The Olinka Files, first time from BlizzCon. Hey, really quick, did you guys watch the arena tournament at all? I missed it.
Oh man, is the Pope Catholic? Is Salman Rushdie ex-directory? I watched the arena tournament like it was going out of fashion. I watched the arena tournament at BlizzCon between panels, and then I watched the arena tournament again on the virtual ticket. And I've been watching the VODs and rewatching the VODs and rewatching the VODs. Yes. So in summary, yes, I've watched the arena tournament. It was really good.
So you've watched it like several times then? Each
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
match?
I can't tell you how many times I watched the 2011 arena tournament.
Oh man.
And like the World Championships in China. Like I can't tell you how many times I watched those. And so this time, this is going to be no exception. I'm going to be watching these ones till the cows come home. It's I just love watching WoW arenas. With the
virtual ticket, it's like insane. I can't get any work done because I just keep on watching more and more videos. The arena tournament is still on deck, but it's getting closer. It's getting there for me. I'll watch it eventually.
Watch it seriously. It's so good. It's so like a lot of the games were kind of like skill capped were like a freight train. Like everyone else is like, I've got this sword, and skill capped are like. Talvadar was just Talvadar. Like I was watching one, like I was like sat in like a different panel, like they were going into some lore stuff. So I was like there with my phone, like.
This was. Oh, sorry. I'm
gonna. Oh crap! I just saw Helenka in chat, and he said that I was dead to him. That's not good.
Dead to him. That's not
good.
Very nice.
I'm sorry, Brian.
Hey, speaking of the Vatican, did you guys see this story?
Speaking of the Vatican, is this like wow? Is this gonna be one of those segues? Is this a Shafnet segue?
Did you guys see this? Someone in the Vatican pirated Football Manager 2013. What? Yes, look at that. Yeah.
Why?
Wow.
Obviously a Football Manager 2013 fan. Damn. Can't even buy it. Sitting on mounds of gold in the Vatican, just, sitting on
Vatican
Pirate
City
Bay.
is like the richest principality in the world. Like they're just like burning money to keep themselves warm or something. Someone's pirating Football Manager.
It's like the worst.
Wow.
It's on HuffPost, legit. It's on HuffPost UK, by the way. Yeah.
That's a great non sequitur there, Gear. Maybe we should get
really.
back
That
on
was a real. That's a Shafnet level segue. That right there.
That is.
Yeah, I was getting kind of overexcited talking about how Talvadar was just like such a happy little smiling elemental shamanist after he just blew people up. So.
Yeah.
To the Vatican.
I'm gonna reel it back in. No, so one thing to come out of the arenas though was the idea of having the dampening debuff kick in actually earlier. So at 5 minutes, like it did in the tournament. So what do you guys think about this change? I mean, do you think it's a good idea?
For clarity, it's not actually a change. It's something that Brian put out on Twitter. So it's just like it's a potential change. So it's not. They're not definitely doing this.
Oh, it's an internet fact. It's on Twitter.
Yeah, it's on Twitter, so it's real. Yeah. So currently, the dampening is obviously the healing debuff, which currently on live it comes in at 10 minutes. They were worried about games running long, obviously they've got a limited amount of time in which to hold a tournament, so they're worried about games running long. So they thought, we'll pull it back, we'll make the games a little bit more exciting so people die quicker, and we'll make it come in at 5 minutes rather than at 10, which basically means that this healing debuff stacks up at I think is it 1% a second, something like that, and so it's like stacking up. It just starts stacking earlier, basically. And I think, as I understand it, if I understand it correctly, it's still maxed out at the same maximum number of stacks of 60 as it did, so 60% reduced healing as it does on live, if I understood that correctly. But it worked out, it was kind of weird because there was either fights, like there were certainly some fights, like for example, if you watched Bleached Bones versus PvP Live, there were fights there that went right to the timer, and like you were really seeing the effects of dampening, like they were really drawing it out, and like Danny Carey, who was PvP Live's healer, Miscue the Monk, was like going off and drinking constantly, and it was interesting. But then, like, other fights were just like I said, like skill capped. Like Talbadar just blasted Aris's elemental chamber, just blowing people up. So the dampening keep up was neither here nor there, because almost no one got to heal anyone. And like other, people were just getting completely blown up by other teams. Like MIR were just doing the same thing with the Shadow Priest. So it's kind of like it was cool for those fights that went on a bit longer. Whether it would work on live servers, I'm not sure. To me, I feel like dampening is supposed to be a match ender, and not something that's just something that you play to. So I don't know. I'm undecided as to whether it will come in on. It'll be a good change for live.
Do you think the Pope was playing Football Manager 2013? Because that would actually make this whole thing a lot funnier to me.
Really loves American football. Really loves it.
No, it's going to soccer. It's going to be
like soccer.
It's going to be soccer, surely.
Footy.
Football Manager, isn't
it's
it?
footy.
FIFA.
American.
I have no idea. I'm American. Damn
American.
it. American.
But seriously,
There's only one kind of football.
But seriously, the really big news that came out of BlizzCon this year is the new arena ladder. So the trial of the Gladiator. This is going to be a new ladder where you can only earn rating for short periods of time, a couple times a week. So check this out. So it's going to maybe be like, I don't know if this is like fact, if we know this, but it's going to be like maybe 2 hours on a Wednesday, 2 hours on a Saturday, and so on and so on and so on. And it's going to be tournament rules. So you'll log in. You're going to grab gear from a vendor, no grinding out conquest points, nothing like that. It's all right there for you to grab, along with the enchants, gems, everything. Everything you're going to do, all you're going to do is play. And this is a huge change. This is huge. This is
huge.
I think a lot of people are going to like this a lot.
For sure.
I might actually PvP.
See?
There you go. That's like one recruit right there. Like it's fantastic because it's like people already say I get in chat. It's all skill based. This is what people who bang on about PvP being too gear based. If you're one of those people who's on Twitter saying, "Oh, PvP is too gear based, it should be pure skill," get your ass onto the trial of the Gladiator and show us what you're made of.
Right.
And it's like but it's also for people who don't have the time to grind out 2 separate sets of gear. This is fantastic. It's going to be. It's going to be awesome. It's like you just literally rock. It's like Tournament Realm, but you don't have to pay for access. Like the Tournament Realm goes off every year. It's exactly this, but you have to pay. I think it like works out to $20, maybe $25 every year just to get onto that realm. And people have this feeling as well that it's just for hardcore PvPers. You don't go there if you're not a hardcore PvPer. But this is in the game. It's there. It's right there. And I'm so excited about it.
I don't think this is just for hardcore PvPers. I mean,
not at all.
Am I incorrect? This is like Guild Wars 2, right? Am I incorrect? Like that's basically what it is. Like go into the mist, go to a vendor, get all your shit, and boom, you're max level just like everybody else. Everybody's at the same level playing field and go. I think this is great. Well, what's going to happen? What's happening to the current system?
Well, this is important. This is something people have been freaking out about a little bit, and it's very clear. Like Law has been on the forums again with the blue post being very, very clear, and that there is the current system is staying exactly as it is. This is in addition to the current system, so you still got exactly as it was. It's all going to be the same, and the current system is staying in place. So don't worry. If you hate the idea of this, if you really love grinding out your conquest points and getting that gear. And also it's worth mentioning that the gear which you pick up from these vendors isn't going to work anywhere but this Trial of the Gladiator thing. So you're not going to be able to take that gear and then go raid with it, because it will just be like wearing whites for that. So it's not going to be gear that you can pick up and take elsewhere.
So, I mean, again, I assume I would ask, what's the purpose of this whole system? I assume it's just to have, hey, here's a completely level playing field for people who want to PvP, and it's completely skill-based.
Yeah. That's definitely what it sounds like. And for those guys that don't have a lot of time to grind, I mean, this is going to be like me, for PvP stuff. This is going to be great. This should be kind of cool. It depends on how they set it up, though. I mean, if it's going to be for specific times, I just kind of wonder what's going to happen with those people that can't be online during those certain times, and those guys with off hours or commitments or.
I want to actually unpack that for a second. What's the reason behind that? Why is it so broken down to like just a few? Yeah, specific time and specific days.
The thinking behind that. So you can play as we understand it right now from there's a blog on the official site on Battle.net saying that you can play at any time, but you can only earn rating in the ladder So you can rock up whenever you like. So if you're not interested in seeking out Gladiator, seeking out one of the titles, seeking out one of the mounts, then you can just, rock up, play whatever you want. If you want to push rating, then you have to play, and like we don't know what these time periods are going to be yet. But in these sort of short chunks of time, which will be, no doubt they'll be distributed throughout the week and everything. But you just rock up and play then, and that's the period in which your rating actually counts for something. So as far as I can gather, it is an attempt for, like exactly like you said, the pure skill thing. It's also something which is easier to balance because they can limit what gear is available to people without people going, oh, but I want to take my legendary stuff into the PvP thing. They're like, no, this is not for you. And what's more, it makes it way easier for them to combat win trading. The majority, like not every incidence of win trading, but the majority of win trading takes place at like crazy o'clock in the morning on, between 2 5v5 teams at like 4 a.m. because they've established that at that time they're the only 2 teams at this rating. So they'll just like trade. And it makes it way easier for them to control that because this is the only time that rating will count towards your ladder position. And it also makes it way easier for them to actually look at this ladder and be like, oh, something's wrong. We can fix this, we can cut this team quickly.
And it's not just win trading. I mean, it could be any type of abuse, right? I mean, so it could be anything that goes wrong if it's within this time period. That at least they know where they need to look, and then they can look deeper into what actually happened. So, try to stave that off as much as possible.
For sure.
So that means spectator mode is definitely coming, right? That's it, right?
That's a confirmed spectator mode, yes, for PvP.
I just tweeted that.
It's coming.
It's confirmed. Yeah.
It's coming. It's confirmed by Gary Gannon right there on the internet. Spectator mode is in.
Take that, internet.
No, but I mean, think about. I mean, again, we're pushing down that road of like, man, it'd be so nice to have it. But if they are going to actually be doing the ladder stuff, and there's these and they're also dictating these specific hours of when this can all take place. How cool would it be if we can also log in and kind of watch the top people play? Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing?
It's probably never gonna happen. Forget it. Just sorry.
No, it is. Stop being so negative, Gary. It is gonna happen. Believe in Helinka. The truth is out there.
Yeah, we need the music again. Thank you.
How is this going to work for region-wide play? Is there going to be separate ladders? They're going to do like East Coast, West Coast, and Australia, New Zealand, all that kind of jazz?
That's the tricky part, man. That's going to be the tricky part. Like, because they've got, obviously now, for people who weren't aware, with patch 5.4, we've now got region-wide play. So your ladder is the entire, everyone who's on those servers. So they have to work out a time that works for everyone from the East Coast of the US all the way to New Zealand. And that's going to be a tricky proposal. So there's going to have to be different times.
I don't really think there's a time that's like kind of convenient.
No.
I just don't really know.
It'd probably be between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Pacific is my guess. That's like the perfect time for everybody.
It's like the perfect time, yes.
For everyone.
I think what's realistically going to happen is they're going to talk about like having some times that are going to be in the morning for some people, they're going to be in the afternoon for other people. I know that there was a Twitter conversation with Brian earlier today where he was saying, look, we're going to do our best. Like, we're not going to be able to accommodate necessarily like if someone lives in Tonga, like you might just have to do some weird sleep patterns if you specifically want to play on NA servers in this particular gameplay. But they're just going to do their best to be inclusive, but they're never going to be able to please everybody. There's always going to be someone who's like, but I have to pick my kids up from school at that time. It's like, well,
the kids might just have to wait for a little bit. Get some after-school activities for them. There you go.
The whole daytime thing just seems like it's going to be kind of a big hurdle, though. I don't know.
It definitely.
The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I mean, how often is it going to reset? Do we know that? How long the seasons are going to last?
We don't know that at the minute. I don't know. I like, there's various different options which they could do. They could do it like by a season. But they could also, because they've got so much freedom with this, they could do way shorter resets. Like they could be like, oh, you did the ladder, you won the ladder this week. Grats. Next week, it could be like a Stranglethorn fishing extravaganza for all we know. Like, it could be really short wins, it could be longer term, it could be a month, it could be an entire season. They've got so much freedom with this. They can pretty much do what they want.
I'm kind of confused by this. And I'm watching chat and Holinka's staying silent. He's going dark.
Yeah, he's very quiet.
He's gone dark!
I can't comment on this stuff.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. The more, I don't know, this is gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I love the idea, the whole concept of like having, you know, be able to grab all the gear, just going and jump into that stuff, and then also work on leaderboards. But the first thing that it just like makes me think of is something like, you know, leaderboards like in Battlefield or something where they're more static and you're just working up the ranks. And, you know, they even do stuff by like region, and I can look at like, you know, who's big in California, like who are my friends, like, and kind of see different leaderboards and stuff. But then you restrict it down to like, I have to be on these certain days and these certain times to kind of compete. Like that is just, I mean, I don't know. Now, if you can go in there, you're going to be able to grab all the gear, get all your mounts, titles, all that kind of jazz from this ladder. Why do you think people are still going to stick and play normal arenas at all? Just the people that possibly can't.
That's a good question.
Because they can't for those. Yeah, because they can't be on during those times or something.
But you can still play. You can still play outside those times. And it, like, will they be able to get the mounts and the achievements from the normal ladder? We're not sure. Like, maybe the only place where you can get those from will be this Trial of Gladiator ladder. But, you know, there's still more, like, if you like grinding out, I can see myself still playing on both ladders. Because, you know, there'll be friends of mine who are like, oh, I don't want to play on the serious ladder because it's scary and it's all hardcore people, and they'll be wanting to play on the existing ladder and so on and so forth. So, I don't know, I think, like, there's definitely people like me who are going to be like, well, I don't really care for grinding gear, so I just really want to do arenas. But then I think there's still a place for the old ladder, for sure. And they can put rewards on it as well.
Gonna be very, very, very interesting.
Something to keep an eye out for sure.
Yes, it is, and that includes the whole link of files.
I feel like we should sort of, I know, what was like the opening of X-Files? It was them going like this, wasn't it? Like looking,
flashlights in darkness and slivers of light. All right, this week's viewer questions are brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, all you got to do is go to audible.com/gamebreaker. That is the URL. The URL you need to go to is audible.com/gamebreaker, and they've got tons of World of Warcraft books. I would say tons, but they've got many. They've got 4. They have several. They have several. I want to take let's take a little listen today. It's a little story time. A little Vol'jin
story time. Primary line of reasoning, the whispers and tutting from the 2 Chang sisters gave him further cause to hold back. The 2 of them were old enough to remember when Lu Lang had first departed Pandaria, or so they said. Though their fur ran much more to white than black, save where they darkened it around their eyes, Chen assumed they weren't quite that old. They'd spent all their lives in Pandaria, and very little of them in the company of those who had lived on the Wandering Isle.
For those of you who are not up on your lore, you should be watching or reading Conspiracy Craft, but you need to keep up. This is a perfect way to keep up. Go get all 4 of the World of Warcraft books that are on Audible. And like I said, I want to hook you guys up with one free one. If you guys check out Audible, I mean, I think most people know what it is at this point, but it's audiobooks on your iOS device, your Android. You download the app, and then you download books. And like I said, we want to hook you guys up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. And you could download Vol'jin Shadows of the Horde right now as your free book. Clocks in at almost 12 hours. Fantastic book by Michael Stackpole. Just go to the audible.com/gamebreaker, sign up, make the account, download it, and get to listen to some World of Warcraft, and you can get in on the lore. You can get in on not the Josh Allen, aka lore, but you can get in on the lore. All right, let's do some viewer questions. Every week we do viewer questions, and of course, remember, we love viewer questions. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. Or if you have a question you want to email us, it's submit@gamebreaker.tv. That is the email address that you can email us. And like I said, video questions. We love them. Record yourself, post it to the YouTubes, and then email it to submit@gamebreaker.tv. Blue drunk. Whatever. Sends it a video
One
question.
of those.
I'm scared already.
Whoa.
Oh, hang on, I gotta shut off Vol'jin.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Still playing. Are you guys just listening to it in the background? It's fantastic. Let's see what Blood Drunk has to say.
Hey, what's the weirdest thing you saw at BlizzCon? Okay, that's all fine.
That's the weirdest thing.
That That's the weirdest thing to come out of BlizzCon, I think.
Out of BlizzCon, that might be it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
yeah.
I'm going to think. Anyone wants to go? Anything weird?
I
Go ahead.
No, go Pat.
No,
you hang up. No, you hang up.
No,
you hang
you.
up.
No,
you hang up.
You hang up.
All right,
you
fine.
hang up.
The weirdest thing that I heard, let's just say that, is everybody's voice going out at the same time, right? So as like everybody's voice was going out at the same time, like I ran into Holinka a couple of times, I ran into Krithto a couple of times. Those guys sounded like they ate a bag of glass before they decided to start talking. I was losing my voice. I think you guys were losing your voices. I mean, it was just nuts. So that's kind of one of the weird things.
Yeah. I don't know, the weirdest, the
Wait,
two weirdest things.
Can I kind of clarify?
No, go.
No, wait, because the question, because the question was, what is the weirdest thing you saw?
I know.
You apparently
I went to hear.
Just apparently went with one of the other senses, just took it upon himself.
Yes.
Good.
Because I don't know what the weirdest thing I saw. I don't know.
The weirdest thing I saw, like it was kind of the weirdest thing and the most awesome thing I saw. Like, well, there were two things, both were cosplay related. And the weirdest thing I saw was two Drene ladies in the ladies' loos arguing over hooves.
Over hooves?
Hooves. Yeah, as in the clippity-cloppity feet.
Yeah.
There were two ladies dressed as Drene in the bathrooms arguing over their shoes and whose were the most accurate portrayal of the Drene hoof.
There was the dog.
The other weirdest thing I saw.
She's got multiple.
Sorry.
She's seen
the other weirdest thing I saw was like seen things. But the other weirdest thing I saw was I was like this guy who was cosplaying and he was on the cosplay competition, and all he'd done was he'd brought a desk and he'd shaved like the middle bit of his hair. And he had a desk with like a sort of fake computer on it, and I was just like,
"Oh, that guy was great!" I saw that.
And it was the guy from South Park. I was just like, "What even is this? This is the weirdest cosplay I have ever seen." Until he was like standing out in the hall with the picture of the guy from South Park taped onto the front of his desk. It was so cool.
I'm gonna say the weirdest thing I saw out of the entire BlizzCon weekend event was probably Pat's knee.
Right, that was the uncomfortable knee from. From the
I can't wipe it from my memory. I haven't been sleeping well after it.
Whatever.
The Pat Crane uncomfortable knee.
There was also the dog that was with a Draenei woman. There was the dog. It was a white dog. I think she had transformed it into the Blizzard Bear mount, essentially. I think that's what it was. I'm trying to remember. I don't know. There were so many weird things.
There was a couple fantasies that walked by here and there. There was actually a group of them at one point. Guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Next question from McJanus. A couple of us have a friend who is a hardcore raider, and his thoughts on Garrisons were that as long as it gives even the smallest advantage in raiding, he and his raid team he leads were going to dive into it with both feet. Seeing as how we only have limited information on how the garrison system works from a rating standpoint, what are the possible advantages you can see from it? What do you think, Liv?
I actually spoke to Ray Kova about this and saying, what is that? We know that you can send your followers out to do like dungeons, and I don't know if they can do raids for you.
Yes.
But they can yes, they can, confirmed by Crack on the internet. So the followers can go out and get raids and do, get gear for you, which you can equip on your character. And like, we have no time to talk about Garrisons in depth this week, but I'm just going to suffice it to say that this is one of my biggest fears for Garrisons, is that these are going to be the new required for raiding content. So there are definitely advantages. I hope they're not too great, and I hope they're not such that people will be like, this is mandatory. Fingers crossed.
Tom Chilton, by the way, did say that in the presentation, that you could send him out on a raid. If you had 10 followers, you could send him out on a raid. So it wasn't just me. I'm just letting you know. Anyway, so yeah, that is kind of the concern, right? I mean, nobody wants Golden Lotus dailies 2.0, essentially, is what it would be. You don't want that. You don't want this big, huge grind, and I think that's what a lot of people are feeling like it sounds like. However, I think they've learned a lot, and through Timeless Isle and all the way through the Mist expansion. So I'm hoping that they at least pay attention to that moving forward. I don't think we're going to see necessarily a ton of dailies out of it, but there will be some certain advantages that raiders will want to pay attention to for sure. I think, from everything that it sounds like, it's gonna be good.
All right, last up today, this one in from Guy. Guy has some aspect ratio I've never seen before. That's quite amazing.
This is great, the aspect ratio.
Hey, Gamebreaker, it's G.Lock again for UMS Malganis. I would like to start off first. I was right. OQ's coming to the game. And second, I would like to know what you guys' views, what they could do with jewel crafting and enchanting in, Warlords of Draenor, considering that they're removing a lot of necessity for gems and enchants. I mean, that's a lot of where my gold comes from. So I was wondering if you think they'll add like epic wands, epic rings, epic, neck pieces, stuff that you can actually sell. People are saying, oh, well, just that one enchant will cost more. I just don't see that being a thing. But do you guys think that it's wrong for enchanters to be able to make wands and jewel crafters to make, epic rings and neck pieces? That's basically my question. Thanks for taking my question. Later, guys.
So this actually came up. Hey,
Gamebreaker.
No, I don't want to. This actually came up. At the con as a pretty big thing, is that people had a lot of questions about this, and a lot of people were wondering. So what is the impact, do you think, going to be on jewel crafters and enchanting? So what do they do?
I think it's going to be like sorry, excuse me. They're not going to be removing jewel crafting and enchanting from the game, guys. They're just going to be diminishing the number of slots which require it. So they're just making it simpler so that when you get gear, it's not like, oh my god, I got to do all this stuff. This may have the impact that enchanting recipes are, like, enchants become more expensive because of supply demand, because there will be, it could work out that the individual enchants become higher priced. It could work out that the gems become higher priced. But also, like you say, there's no reason why they shouldn't be allowed to craft, not necessarily epics, but also, you can craft wands, not wands, you can craft rings and necks with jewel crafting already. Yes. And to make those into decent starting gear, I see no problem with that. Like, I can see that happening very much so. But then obviously there's also, why not something for like that for enchanters? And enchanters can kind of, like, you really do need certain enchants. My profession's adjacent in enchanting, and I'm not hugely worried about this. People who really hardcore play the auction house might be, but I don't see this as a big deal personally. I think it'll work itself out.
Pat, any of your guildies concerned with this?
Yeah, I think the auction house. I think people that play are going to feel this the most, but again, I think we'll just see where it ends up being. And I do think that professions overall probably need a little bit of a revamp anyway. So maybe they can take a look at everything and just kind of figure out exactly what they want, because I don't think it necessarily hit everybody in Miss Pandaria as far as like those guys that just kind of brought up their professional levels to the amount where they could make stuff, and then there was nothing new that was really involved, especially with JCs, where you went, oh yeah, I need to really level up and get that next thing, except for maybe the mount.
Yeah, the mount for sure. Yeah, like stuff like that, like exactly that. So the jewel crafting mounts, or the engineering mounts that are coming in, like Sky Golem more recently. Maybe they could do an enchanting mount as well. There's plenty of stuff they can do, and I mean, jewel crafting and enchanting are, like, particularly jewel crafting with the prospecting has been a license to print money for so long. Right. Maybe it's time that it was toned down a little bit.
Hey, live chat room, don't leave when the show's over. I know you hear the music and you're out. Don't leave. I got something to tell everybody as soon as the show's over, so it's not going to make any sense on the show, but stick around. Pat Crane, follow him on the Twitter at Pat Crane, and of course, go over to convertraid.com, listen to the Convert to Raid show. It is awesome with him and Coder and all the other rest of the gang. Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. And
thank you.
You and I and Mr. Coltrane have started a new show, which we will come back with next week, called Dat Game. And it's actually going to follow live Legendary. So we're going to have a show on after Legendary on Thursday, starting next Thursday, right following Legendary. There's one episode up. It's myself, Pat, Coltrane, talking about some PC games. We did the Stanley Parable for our pilot, and we'll be moving on. So next week, mark your calendars. Olivia D. Grace, follow her on the Twitter at Olivia D. Grace, and of course go over to WoW Insider and check out all her writing right there and right here on Legendary. Always a pleasure. It's great seeing you guys. Thanks so much. all the peeps in the chats. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking around on your Thursday night. I know for some of you it's very, very, very late, and we appreciate it. Although I don't think it was ever as late as it was for Olivia, but now it's not. So.
Hey, no, there's people in Europe who are running it 1 hour later than me. Trekkie was a hardcore 1 hour later.
He was. So we'll be back next week, Thursday at 8 PST. We do this show. Don't forget, we're going to do Dat Game, the show, right after Legendary, starting next week. Mark your calendars and live peeps. Hang out. I'll be right back. Have a great week.